this episode, Ryan explains how he could have lost £75,000 on one deal that he's already done. A deal that at any time could be undone by doing this one thing. One conversation in the street where the deal was could cost Ryan 75k. If you want to learn how not to lose deals you've already done, this episode shows you how to keep hold of them and not lose any money that's already done, dusted, in the bank and spent. Let me know what you think of this episode by leaving a review.
How to lose 75 grand. Okay, so in this episode, I'm going to talk to you about a mistake that I have made recently that may cost me £75,000, okay? It hasn't been resolved yet. It's on the verge. Hopefully it doesn't. But worst case scenario, it will lose me £75,000 just over this one stupidity, this one thing that's led to a massive problem, a massive situation. That's a pretty embarrassing as well, to be fair. Okay, so let me give you a bit of background. Okay, about 2 weeks ago, I went to visit a HMO property that we have. Okay, now this is a HMO property we rent through a company, and it's from an agency. So it's an agency that has this HMO, and we rented it, obviously, from them. Okay, so it's a fully licensed HMO. We've had this property already for over a year. We had students in there the first year. We're now into the second year, and there's not many students around. We just can't get the returns that we want from a group of students this year because of the coronavirus, the pandemic. Less people traveling to the city, less people coming into the UK from overseas, less demand from students, more universities letting people work from home, and everything else that you guys understand, which is going on right now in the market for students, which is all over the media. Okay, not getting the grades, being downgraded, etc., etc. So we decided to switch it up a little bit this year. It is a student property. We decided to change a little bit of furniture, change some soft furnishings and everything else, so we can present it to professionals or construction workers, contractors, etc. Okay, so we did that. Let the property to a group of contractors, to a company which wants to put their staff there, and those are the tenants that we chose. Okay, so I go to the property, excuse me, I go to the property one day, I think just to drop some keys off, something like that, drop some keys off or something along those lines. So I pull up at the property, I'm on the phone at the same time, hands-free obviously, or Apple earpods, because I'm busy, making the best use of my time. And I'm just going to drive past this flat quickly while I'm here. I put an offering on a flat today, which has more or less been agreed. I've just gone past the road. I'm just going to drive past it, just have another look, because it's beautiful where it is. One of the most prestigious postcodes in the area. They had a deal here about 3 years ago that fell out of bed. A building that we was buying in this square, and just put an offering on something else now in the same area, a few doors along, in fact, and I think we're nearly there today. I think we're very, very nearly there today.
Let me ask you a question. Are you and your family prepared for when the economy crashes and your bank balance goes to zero? In the aftermath of the 2008 property crash, I held a keynote talk in Piccadilly around property investment tactics that work when the economy crashes. And these tactics saved me in the 2008 crash. Let me share them with you real quickly. The first one is buying properties for £1 without getting a mortgage, without putting a deposit down, and without any credit whatsoever. The next strategy is finding properties with £25,000 to £50,000 of instant equity. The next strategy is buying a property today and paying for the property later when it's worth more, a lot more in the future. The next strategy is renting HMOs and student properties and any properties up to 75% below the market rent. This gives you massive cash flow right now. And then the next strategy is raising from £4,000 to £14,000 from properties that you just rent. This can be used as get started cash for whatever you want in your business. Now, I created a free training to walk you through the only strategies that will save your bank balance from going to zero. I'm serious. If you just go to www.propertycrashcourse.com and tell me where to send this free training.
So, I'm just driving past and I'm taking a little detour past here because I'm excited. Anyway, so we rented that building to a group of professionals, like construction workers, contractors, etc. So, I go to the property, drop a set of keys off, etc. Come out of park the car. Wasn't really paying much attention while I parked the car because, I was just busy on the phone, hands-free, like I just said, or Apple EarPods, and wasn't paying much attention. It turns out that I parked in a disabled bay. I know, in a disabled bay, it's not great, but I parked in a disabled bay, okay? Now, I didn't realise this at the time. I'd literally been in the house for about 3 or 4 minutes, not a long time at all. So I come out of the property, and there's a car parked next to my car, okay? There's a car parked next to my car. So I come out of the property, there's a car parked next to my car, and I just go to the boot, still haven't realised I'm in a disabled bay. I go to the boot, and open the boot, put a couple of things in, and close the boot, and I'm about to drive off. The window goes down on this car that's next to me, and the worst abuse you have ever heard in your life, like, I don't know, Jeremy Kyle abuse, is hurled at me in barrages, just non-stop, back to back. I'm going to repeat what they said. You fucking bastards, you fucking asshole, it's a fucking disabled bay, you fucking prick. I've got disabled children and you're parking in my fucking space. You fucking bastard. It's a fucking non-stop. The F word, the F-bomb, you're a bastard, you're this, you're that. And I just said, look, just hold. I didn't understand what was going on, first of all. So I'm like, just hold on a second. I mean, what is the issue? What is the problem here? She's like, you fucking parked in the fucking disabled space. I've my fucking kids in the car and they're fucking disabled. And I've started to get the gist of what it is and what she's saying in between her just attacking me verbally. And then I look down and I think, oh shit, I have actually parked in a disabled bay. So I say, while trying to get a word in edgeways, I say, I'm really sorry. Yes, I have parked in a disabled bay. I honestly didn't realise I was in a disabled bay. It's just been a few minutes. I honestly didn't realise. I'm sorry, I'm going to move now. You fucking know you're in a disabled bay. You fucking think you can park anywhere. I got fucking... She's going on non-stop. So I just said, look, I understand that you have a disabled badge and you can park in a disabled bay, but it doesn't give you the right to be a fucking horrible bitch. That's what I said. I said, doesn't give you the right to be a horrible bitch. Now, I think that is the problem, which really took it to the next level. She was swearing, probably said 100 swear words to me in that 3 minutes or 90 seconds or 120 seconds of an exchange of abuse which she gave me. And I literally just said that one thing. Doesn't give you the reason or the excuse, because you have a disabled badge, to be a rude bitch. That's all I said. So she drove off shouting and screaming and kicking and swearing and like foaming at the mouth and more or less spitting. And I just politely moved the car, parked it somewhere else. She parked in the bay and I went back into the house. Okay. Now, a week later, what happens? A week later, I get an email from the agent we've done the deal with saying, we've had a complaint from the neighbour. The neighbour said that there was very, very, very loud music all weekend, all hours. And then they said they approached them to turn the music down and they was verbally attacked by the people. And then the next day, the people were leaning up against their car outside and they asked them if they could move away from their car, and apparently they said no. Then the next day, there was more music, loud, in the garden. Then the next day, there was loads of rubbish in the garden. It was everywhere. And this went on for about 4 days. This is their complaint. They literally complained about absolutely everything you could think of that could consist of a complaint. The noise, the language, the swearing, the time they started, the time they finished, the rubbish in the garden. Have they got this? Abusive to me. Leaning on my car. I report them to the police. I report them to the council. I report them to the agent. This lady literally done absolutely everything and anything you could think of that could possibly be done and more to complain about a neighbour. Okay? Now I just thought to myself, this just doesn't seem right. I know these guys. They're people that work with us, or, you know, they're in our properties and we've already worked with them. We know these guys. They're just a good group of guys, excuse me, which are here in the UK to work from overseas, Eastern Europe, to send as much money home to their families to provide as they can. They work all the hours under the sun, then they come back and maybe they just go to bed, have some food, and maybe on the weekend they have a little beer in the garden. It's summer. Yes, I understand it can be noisy sometimes. And yes, I understand if they're disruptive to the neighbours. And yes, I understand that it's our job to make sure that it doesn't get too bad and the neighbours aren't disgruntled. Okay? Happens very, very rarely. So I've also received another email from the owner of the property. So it's quite embarrassing. We've got the landlord, the owner emailing us, what's going on, problems. We've got the agency emailing us, complaint from the neighbour, it's so bad, what sort of people have you got in there, etc., etc. Because it's very, very one-sided based on what they said they did, which isn't true. Most of it's been fabricated. And then we've been notified from the council, the HMO licensing, the environmental health, and everything else about the complaint. So 3 different angles there coming at us from this one complaint from this one lady. So I still think it's very odd. I think everybody's overreacted. I contact the tenants, find out what's going on, talk to the manager that manages all of them and everything else, and the guys in the house. Transpires that yes, they did have a few drinks in the garden. Yes, they were playing their guitar and singing. They're from little villages in the Czech Republic, in Romania, in Poland, in Bulgaria, and all of those countries in Eastern Europe, and they like to just get together and spend time with family and play guitars and sing songs when they're not working. So now I understand the full picture. And I talked to the tenants, I've got the full picture. So I'm thinking, right, I'm going to go back and see the neighbours. I've knocked before, didn't manage to get the neighbours, so I've gone back again today. I've gone back to the house, I've knocked on the first neighbour on the left-hand side and said, hello, I understand you had a complaint about some noise about a week ago. Just wanted to talk to you about that and make sure that it stopped. The guy who lives in that house, the owner, says, no, I haven't got a complaint. Oh, really? Well, you haven't got a complaint about our tenants? You've never complained? No, I haven't got a complaint. I haven't even heard them. Didn't even know there was anybody in there. Okay. All right, well, fine. Let's go to the other neighbour on the other side. We go to the neighbour on the other side. As I'm walking up the path, I just had this premonition. I was like, oh my God, just imagine that week or 10 days ago or so, when that lady went apoplectic at me outside in this street, for parking by accident in a disabled bay. Just imagine she opened the door. So it's running through my mind. I'm thinking about this. I'm conscious of this now. I can see the outline of the lady at the door. I'm like, fuck, straight away, it's a lady. Oh dear. And then I can see the silhouette and everything else. And then as the door opens, I can hear the voice as she opens the door, shouting at the kids. And I'm like, oh my God. The door opens and her face is revealed, and it is her. Immediately, I know where the complaint has come from. The complaint has got nothing to do with what really happened in the garden or with the tenants. It's to do with the fact that which I don't think she knows I'm the same person, because I was in a car, actually parked in a disabled bay outside her house by mistake a week or 10 days before. So she's just pissed. She saw me come out of the property. Maybe she thought I was a tenant. She's gone apoplectic back then. And this is the lady that's complained to the council, to the police, to the authorities, to environmental health, to the agent, and to the owner. Massive problems. Massive, massive problems from this one complaint. As you guys will know, HMO comes with licensing, restrictions, criteria, noise level, antisocial behavior, abusive behavior, and everything else. Lots and lots of regulations and red tape. So I'm talking to the lady and I'm wondering when the penny's going to drop. When's she going to realize it's me? If she will she not? Etc, etc. So I introduce myself and say, I understand that you had a complaint. And she's like, yes. And then she softly goes into the complaint and then gets a bit deeper and tells about the noise and how bad they were. And she's got this little look in her face as if she's saying, you know, you lot parked in my space, or your tenants did, so I fucked you over. She's got that little smug look in her face. But I'm just there to listen, be polite and apologise and make sure that it hasn't happened again, and make sure that it won't happen again. So I ask all the right questions, find out if it's happened again. It hasn't happened again. I tried to explain that, you know, they were just from a village, you know, they were just having a little bit of fun and not supposed to be too loud, and they didn't realise they should be out in the garden after a certain time, etc, etc. Promise it won't happen again, and she seems to be happy. She says it hasn't happened again, etc, etc. But the problem is she's complained to the police, she's complained to the council, she's complained to the environmental health, and complained to the HMO licensing department, complained to the owner of the building, complained to the landlord, complained to the agency and everybody else who will listen. So now it's a massive problem and it's embarrassing. And the reality is, if the deal falls out of bed because the owner is now talking about terminating the contract for, you know, this serious abusive behavior which hasn't really actually happened, then my company would lose 75 grand. The value in that deal is 75 grand. It generates about, what did it generate? It generates £50,000 a year, this property. 50 grand a year. It's 150 grand over 3 years. Our gross profit is half of that, 50%. Generates around 75 grand. There's 75 grand gross profit for us in that deal. And it could have all fallen out of bed because of one neighbour making a complaint because I parked a few weeks ago prior to this in her or in a disabled bay in the street that she felt she had ownership of. And yes, I'm in the wrong, but it was a genuine mistake. So what's the takeaway from this? Just be very, very, very careful outside your HMOs. Just be mindful of these things, because the slightest little thing when you're dealing with HMOs like this can jeopardize your whole company, your whole operation, your entire contract, your HMO license, all because of a disgruntled neighbor. Okay, so I hope you got some value from this episode. Don't lose 75 grand potentially like I may have by parking in a neighbour's or a disabled bay by mistake outside one of our HMOs in the same street.
He's a #1 Amazon bestseller. He's an NLP manipulator. He's a property course seller. He's a Lamborghini driving multi-millionaire property guru. Forget that same old boring I am me narcissistic podcast format, because nobody gives a fuck. This podcast is all about you. So I'm taking these few seconds to thank you for subscribing, to thank you for leaving your 5-star reviews, and thank you for sharing this show with all of your friends. My team and I will keep bringing you these episodes and answering all of your burning questions in my Facebook community group called Property Crash Course. If you can just keep telling all of your friends about this show.